Hey, my name is Greg McDaniel.
And I'm Bernice Ross, and we have a great show for you today. It's called 7 Proven Success Factors for 2021. Back in 1997, I had the privilege of working with Thomas Leonard, who is the founder of business and real estate coaching. He's been in that space since the early 1990s. And I'm still running my business off the business plan that I worked with him on 25 years later, and I'm still on the same business plan that he gave me. What Greg and I want to share with you today are 7 of these proven factors that I learned from Thomas Leonard that the very best coaches in the world will use if they're working with you. And what happens with the reason a lot of people don't like coaching is like someone is holding their feet to the fire about you've got to do your numbers, and if you don't, you're bad. And that, people hate that. Adults don't want to be held accountable. Accountability coaching. So what I want to do is give you these 7 principles that have totally transformed my life, and they can transform yours, and they have nothing to do with tracking your numbers. So let's start with the first one. So the first one is you attract who you are. And if you have gone through a divorce, for an example, you'll find you'll have people who are getting divorces that'll show up in your business. If you are going through a really kind of challenging time, someone in your family's got cancer, you're going to attract some other people who are facing similar kinds of challenges. So, but by the same token, you're going to attract a certain kind of client. Now, Greg, you've got a really interesting example of how this has been working in your business that you're going to share with us about. This illustrates how you attract clients who share interest.
Yeah, it really is interesting. I took a $5 million listing last year, and I met the guy and we sat down, probably took 10 minutes in his office. I was wearing jeans, Vans, and a t-shirt. We talked about gas stations and cars. We listed the property for $5 million. Based on that listing, I had another gentleman call me, and he and I sat down and we got lunch. But the real thing is that we cracked up together, because when we pulled in to the parking lot, I was following him in, and he had a Ford Raptor, and I was like, dang, that's a good looking car. I was driving my Jeep SRT8, and he's like, dang, that's a good car. And so we sat there and bantered with each other. Of course, being guys, we went and stuck our heads in each one of the cars going, ooh, that's pretty cool. Went and we had lunch together. I wasn't going to have a beer at lunch. He was going to have a beer. Said, well, I'm going to mirror and match. So I'm like, okay, you want an IPA? I'll get an IPA, right? We sat there and just talked about life, and we shook hands and walked away with a $1.8 million listing. And we have another $2 million listing coming out of that. So just building rapport has changed, and just having conversations with people has been phenomenal.
So Greg, great example of this. And what you're talking about here is we do business with people who connect with us personally. And the question is, what do you connect over? So maybe you ought to be prospecting for people who own Ford Raptors.
Maybe, or everybody who owns an SRT8.
I think that's a whole new kind of prospecting you could be doing.
I actually have a gentleman that can actually do that for me.
That might be something to add to your business plan for this year. Okay, now I want to go on to number 2. And Thomas Leonard, he used to say that this is the most important thing when you start working with a one-on-one coaching client. This is the most important thing that you can help them deal with. It's called eliminating tolerations. And tolerations are these little things that bug you. Right now, my laundry has been sitting on top of the dryer to get thrown in the wash for 2 days. Now, I never let that happen, but it's bugging me. And, or sometimes, have you ever had something, a button that's popped off a shirt, and ladies, you may have done a safety pin or something somewhere. I see Greg's nodding. Greg, what are some of the things that you're tolerating?
Funny story. Back a couple of years ago, I was a little overweight, and I got out of the bank. I sat in my car, and I burst a button off the middle of my shirt. And I'm like, well, then there's that. And that made me, I wasn't going to tolerate being overweight anymore in my mind, right? My car has to get an oil change right now. I've been putting it off for like 3 weeks. My car's probably yelling at me. My girlfriend has a ton. I mean, you guys can't see it behind me. My living room is filled. I think filled with boxes of stuff for her house, like appliances and stuff like that. And then my HOA, there's this young gal who's quite She likes herself quite a bit. Let's put it that way. And she's very intolerant to the residents here in my development. She's hung up on me twice. She's hung up on other people, and it's very irritating. So these are the things that are bothering me in my life, and they don't seem large, but when they add up and they stack up, they really get to be something that's going to really irk you. So be aware of that.
Well, and the point you just made is so important, Greg, because tolerations are like paper cuts, and each one of us has at least 100 of them. Most people, I find they can name maybe 10 or 20, but then when you start look around your house, what hasn't been fixed that's bugging you, that light switch, that lamp, those little things. It makes no difference where where you begin on that list of 100. The idea is getting rid of those. You get rid of 30 or 40 paper cuts, or these little things that are bugging you, that creates more space for, better business to come in. So again, if you can eliminate one of those a day and start, it doesn't make any difference where you start. So Greg, when are you going to be moving?
I don't know. That is potentially on the chopping block. We will see. But the one thing I will do today is I'm going to go vacuum my house because it's been driving me nuts. There's a piece of stuff on my floor and it's driving banana cake. So that's one thing I'll do today to eliminate that stressor.
Yeah, that's a tiny thing. It's like my laundry. I mean, I've been so busy, I haven't had the time to do it. I'm, working a couple deals for my brother. And so that's been an issue. Let's go on to number 3, clean space. And I have given this exercise to thousands and thousands of realtors over the years. And many people are familiar with what is known as the vacation principle. Is, when you plan on taking like a week or 2-week vacation, what happens to your business during that time? It
explodes.
It goes nuts. Well, the reason is you open up your schedule. When you create space, then you've got room for more things to come into your business. So for example, you can clean your garage, clean your desk, it can be give a bunch of stuff to charity. We're going to be cleaning out our house in California. I've got a lot of stuff here in the house. I'm going to be getting, I'm buying from my brother's condos. So, like you, I've got my houses, this is by the way, the people that are in your life. My coach told me this many years ago when I told her I was moving to Texas, and she says, damn it, that means 70 or 80% of my clients, and it probably means I might be moving. She moved from Houston to Florida. So, and I'm thinking, Greg's got all this stuff piled up at his house. I do too.
It happens, and you know what, and it's frustrating at times, but you're talking about getting, kind of clearing space. And for this new year, something that I've come down to really kind of focusing on is I'm going to do one thing a day that's massively productive. And then you know what? I'm going to go have a good rest of the day. And guess what? Business, guys, it is flowing in like the River Nile. It is unbelievable how many referrals I'm getting. And I'm like, holy mackerel, I'm working from my couch, from my bed, my desk. And you know what? I'm out for walks. And when I do one thing, everything else flows into line. I know it sounds crazy. Trust me, but it works.
Well, that focus on, with me, the woman who was my mentor for many years, in my case, she called it packing the automat, which means, that's a reference to something back in like the 30s and 1930s, 1940s, where you could go in and you could get a piece of pie out of one vending machine and a sandwich. But she says, I just pack, I was packing so many things in. I had 15 or 20 things on my to-do list. No, 3 things. And I find, like Greg, I'll have one day that's an article day and maybe another day that is video or whatever, but you focus on, 3 things. My good friend, Nancy Sanborn, she says, number 1 on her to-do list every day is list or sell a house today.
Good play. Good thing to start
I think
with.
that kind of covers it. Now, one of the things that's an issue for almost everybody in the business, a lot of us run on adrenaline. And we engage in behaviors where, we get in traffic and, we don't have so much traffic right now because of COVID, but think before COVID, you're sitting in traffic, you're getting irritated, you're late for an appointment, you get all cranked up about that. Then you get a call from a client and they're being unreasonable and they're going bonkers. And it's just, you've got all this stuff and you can feel this, and then you have caffeine on top of it, and you don't have enough sleep and you're like this. And when you get to that state where you are jacked up and stressed out, who you're going to attract?
Stressed out people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, Greg, what did you do to get rid of a major source of adrenaline in your life? Because I thought this was such a great example.
Sure. Really simple. I've been in the game for 21 years. Probably 5 years into the game, I was running ragged. I would tell everybody that they could get a hold of me 24/7, 365. If I don't pick up my phone, I'm either asleep or my phone's dead, and I'll call you when I get done or when I get back. And I was losing my marbles, and so I was with a client. I just snapped, not in a bad way. I didn't do anything bad. I just said, I'm done. I'm just done. So I just looked at him and I said, I'm really excited to work with you guys. And see how my tonality changed? I went deep on this thing because I'm not being wishy-washy. I'm being real serious with them. I said, look, this is how I run my business. I work Monday through Friday. I do not work on the weekends. Can you understand that? And when I'm nodding my head, they, subconsciously agree with me going, yeah, we agree. And I say, that's my family time. And I'm sure you wouldn't want to take that away from my family time, would you? And I'm nodding, I'm shaking my head now. And they're always like, no, we would never want to do that. Guys, in 15 years of doing this and running my business this way, I have lost a total amount of clients of 100% zero. And if they don't want to work with me because of the way I've made a decision, they're not in my tribe. But I made that decision. I release a ton of stress, and that means I can wake up on Saturday, and I can wake up on Sunday, and I can, go hang out with my family or my significant other, or whoever I want to, or just go be by myself. It doesn't matter. And it just made me more powerful because I took control of my life, control of my business, and I gave myself time to recharge. You have to recharge your energy, or you'll be stripped of it. Bernice, would you agree with that?
Oh, completely. I was working two full-time jobs. I was running the training for 4,000 agents, plus I was teaching college full-time,
Mm-hmm.
and walk out the door at about 7 in the morning, get home about 10 at night, and 7 days a week. And I've had a lot of coaches who work with me and I've got to Saturdays off. I'm working on Tuesday and Friday nights off, that's, to have that time that I need for me and to recharge. And I find I take my Saturdays off. My most productive day of the week is Sunday, coming off of that day off. So,
Mm-hmm.
and again, this is creating space in your schedule. When you got space in your schedule, there's more room for business. We just said that. So some of the things that you can do if you're trying to figure out, well, what can I eliminate? Start with the 80-20 rule. And the 80-20 rule says 80% of your benefit will be from the top 20% of your activities. That bottom 20%, you can get rid of. It's only worth about 1% of value to you. So use the 80-20 rule. And here's a really important one. What Greg just gave you is so important. You do not, if you're going to say yes to something, you need to get rid of something else. I have this rule right now. I can't if I buy something new, something, it's taking up space in my closet, something old has to come out and get rid of it. So anything that comes in one thing has to leave. And my friend Marilyn, as I said, three things. I've got three projects, and if I want to take on something new, one of those has to go away. So is it worth booting something that I'm doing? And that's a great way to frame things. Number 5 is standards and boundaries. So Greg, a standard is a behavior I hold myself to.
Mm.
And I think one of the ones that you and I always practice is always tell the truth, no matter what. It may not, and also another one is don't procrastinate. When there's bad news, get it on the table, get it dealt with, and then move forward. What are some of the standards that you have for your behavior?
So one of the things that I've talked to myself about for many, many years, and people always think I'm crazy and they look like me, look like I have a third eye, is that I say this, is if I make a promise to myself and I don't keep it, then I can't expect anybody else to keep any promises they make to me. And so when I talk about that, it's me, where do I want to be in business? What am I going to commit to this year? My health, am I going to work out? Am I going to eat right? I'm going to stop eating bad food, cut down the excess of everything in life. And if you can say, okay, I'm going to do this for this day at this time, and you don't execute, well, then you're not holding yourself to the highest standard, and you're lying to yourself. When I make a declaration of I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, well, then I make sure I do that. And if I don't do it, then I can't expect anybody else to stand up for me or stand up to what I'm going to ask of them. So very simple.
Well, Greg, this goes back to what we were talking about before about you attract who you are. If you don't keep your promises to yourself, then you're going to attract people who don't keep their promises. So
Yep.
that's a huge takeaway that you just gave everyone. Now, the second part of this is a boundary, and these are behaviors that, I will not, or that you will not tolerate. So I know recently you had an agent who was just going absolutely nuts and was yelling at you. And what did you say to this person when he got out of control? Because this is how you enforce this boundary. I thought it was a very powerful story.
Yeah, it was a very easy conversation when he was popping off on me. And I just said, hey, that's not how this is going to go. Let me explain to you exactly the next steps and how this is going to operate. This is what's going to take place. There is no deviation. There is no shift from this plan. If you got a problem with it, that's not my problem. You're going to deal with it on your own time. But this is how we're going to operate moving forward. And guess what? Happened exactly that way.
So that's, what you've just had illustrated is an example of a boundary. And one of the things people get concerned about is if a client is yelling at them or something, one of the things that you can do is that you can say, would you please speak softly to me because I can't understand you?
Mm-hmm.
When
Yeah.
you have your voice is raised. No, don't say yelling, but when you raise your voice, would you please speak softly to me? And if they cannot do that, you have every right to hang up or walk away. You do not have to tolerate being bullied or abused by anybody. So,
Agents or clients. I mean, respect
exactly.
yourself. Respect
Exactly.
yourself.
Now, the next one is extreme self-care. And what I'd like to have you do is to make this is what Thomas would have us do, is make a list of 10 things that you really enjoy. It might be a bubble bath. It might be working out. It could be working in your garden. But make that list of 10 things and do at least 2 of them every day. Greg, what are 3 things from your list that you do the most often?
A couple of things that I really, really enjoy, given with COVID and I can't go to a gym here in California, I've really kind of adapted into running. So I go out and I have this 3.7, almost 4 mile loop that I do. And so I'll go for a run, get the blood pumping and kind of come back super refreshed, brain on fire, ready to rock and roll. And then another one is I had this walk to this park. And this park here in Walnut Creek it's called Heather Farms. It's an insanely amazing park. They have botanical gardens, they have a lake, they have a pond, they have jungle gyms, they have swimming pools, they have tennis courts, skate parks. I mean, it's a huge park, right? So I like to walk there and I have my headphones in. I'm listening to an audiobook or a podcast, and I'm just kind of refreshing, getting kind of my brain going and just enjoying life. I'll watch the kids play in the jungle gym, watch the people fish, watch the guys drive their remote control motorboats out there. But then I come back and I'm just like, gosh, humanity is awesome. Like, I really love this. Like, there's a lot of great human beings out there. And then last but not least is barbecuing. Love to barbecue.
Barbecuing, okay.
Barbecuing, I get an adult beverage, maybe a cigar, grab some chicken, throw it on the grill. I got a great view through, off my deck, and I just kind of sit there and play some music and just relax and get into a different state and then go eat some good food. But those are my 3 things that I really do, that really enjoy doing, besides sitting on the couch and Netflixing. But
Let's go on to number 7, create reserves. Greg, this is a huge problem in our industry and for most Americans as well. They don't have money put away for emergencies or living from, paycheck or commission check to commission check. So if you don't have money in the bank, then are you putting money aside for retirement? Probably not. So if there is an emergency or we get something like COVID hitting and there's a drop in income, how do you get through that? So one of the things that, Thomas Leonard really was big on was, creating reserves. And one of the assignments he would give his coaching clients is to cut your expenses by 50%. And that includes like your house payment and your car payment and all those things. So what can you do? And Greg, you made some really significant cuts to your business that have made you more profitable. What exactly did you do to get your expenses down that other people could look at for their businesses?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to share that. When my team and I shifted from our previous brokerage to our current brokerage, we immediately saw a $46,000 a year savings purely on our rent that we're paying for our office. I also got rid of my Mercedes and I got my Jeep, which, by the way, I've always wanted this Jeep, so it was a total up move for me personally, and saved money on that. I actually then just got another letter right here asking if they would like to take over my loan for my Jeep and reduce my payment. So there's even another savings there. And then marketing, what we did is we looked at where our costs were. And I know this is very cliche and everyone does this, but we looked in from online to offline, and we found that we could do a significantly better job online versus offline. And so we started cutting different areas, and then we go back and we review every 3 months, every quarter essentially, to see where we're bleeding money, like where are we not getting a return. Then we eliminate it, and we just keep adapting and adjusting and just growing into this new marketplace. Instead of doing, and this is an example, maybe we were heavy on postcards for a long time. Now we're getting heavier into video, which can live, it's like a living business card, and people can watch it when you're asleep. It's very simple, but that's some of the stuff that we're doing, and it's been very effective for us, and also eliminating additional costs that we used to spend. Like, hey guys, not too many of us are going out to lunch anymore. Might as well put that money into something else where you can get a higher return.
Greg, these are all areas that people can look at cutting in their businesses that will make them more profitable. And I do disagree with you on the fact that most people do this. They don't. Most people
I
have no
agree.
idea where their expenses are coming from. You're going to be filing your taxes. Take a hard look at how much you spent on expenses last year, and then look at areas to cut. Do you have a subscription to something you're paying for that you're not using? I've been canceling online subscriptions. They take up space in my inbox, or if I'm paying for them and, I just got rid of one I wasn't happy with, and I was paying for, the annual renewal came up. Yep, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. And, one of the good things, if you've got it, when you renew one of these things, it's good to get them a credit card that has an expiration date this year, because then they can't recharge you. So
Yep.
just a little thing there. But the idea here is to go again. If you've got 50 pairs of shoes, do you really need a new one? Especially when I find, most of us are dressing from the waist up these days.
You know what? I wear my flip-flops I bought in Hawaii last year pretty much every single day, and my shorts. And that's pretty much my
You and my
uniform.
husband.
You know what? Everybody else is doing it. Why not? Why can't you do it?
So again, now if this sounds too overwhelming, you can start with simple things. Buying things in bulk, get the bulk price on something.
Mhm.
There are other, look for sales. I happened to hit a one-day sale over at one of the big department stores here in town. And, I was getting furniture for my brother's house, and I got a deal on that. I got the towels at 60% off, one-day sale. And so it's like looking for those opportunities to create reserves. That gives me more money for other things. And by the way, we just reevaluated our auto and house insurance. We're leaving one of the big national carriers and going to another one. We got a better rate. I know a reduction of $1,500 a year with more coverage and higher customer service. So again, this is worth investigating. There are insurance brokers out there. It's like a mortgage broker. They can shop the best rate for you. Take a look at it. Everybody, listening to this is probably paying a lot of money for car and, home insurance. It's a place you can cut expenses.
Yeah.
So
Great
Greg,
tips.
to kind of wrap up for today, what's your final takeaway? We talked about these coaching principles. What has struck you as being probably the most important takeaway for our listeners?
Well, money is something that's incredibly important for everybody right now, because a lot of real estate agents had a great year, but we don't know what 21 is going to bring us. So I would go in and look at your expenses, look at where you're bleeding cash, and don't be afraid to cut them. Even though, like, oh well, I got a deal last year from it. That's okay. Well, where did you get 3 deals from? And put that capital into a better use. And then also, with the stressors that people are under, don't allow anybody in your life, clients or coworkers, to belittle you or talk down to you or talk negatively to you. Stand up for yourself. You're an incredible, powerful human being. Own own the skin that you live in, and just be proud of who you are. That's my takeaway. Bernice, what's yours?
Probably my favorite principles have always been you attract who you are and create space. And anytime I want to, have my business make a little tick up, I start cleaning stuff and getting rid of things out of the house and clearing things out. And it works every time, Greg. It's like signing up for that vacation. So take some time off, clean that closet, clean your car, whatever you can, get rid of what you don't need. And we'll see you next time.